monthly meeting of Business and Culture to be Raymond Bar, Councillor Duffy.
Shaw.
Apologies from Councillor Farrell and Councillor Harkin. Councillor Hart.
Shaw.
Councillor Hutton.
Shaw.
Councillor McDade.
Online.
Councillor McHugh. Councillor Mooney. Councillor Farrell. And Councillor O'Neillis.
Shaw.
Thank you, members.
Chair, I'm also here, but there was no sound at the start of the roll call.
Okay, members, you're all welcome to our Business and Culture meeting today. I'm just going to start by reading out the broadcasting statement, which is as follows. I would like to remind everyone physically present at the meeting or in attendance remotely that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. This broadcast may be terminated or suspended in accordance with our protocol. Due to your attendance at this meeting, you are consenting to being filmed and to the use of storage of these images for broadcasting and training purposes and for the purposes of keeping historical records and making those records available to the public. Members and approved speakers are reminded to only have their mics and cameras on while speaking at the meeting and to use the chat facility to highlight requests to speak. A copy of Council privacy notice can be found on the Council website. Okay, members, moving on to today's business. We have our declarations of members' interests. If we have any now, I can take them, or we can take them as they come up throughout the meeting. I don't see anybody indicating for now, so during the meeting, that's no problem. So today's open for decision. We have our two deputations. Our apologies for our first deputations from Martin Bradley from Millennium Forum, who sadly can't make today's meeting, but Paul Mason, the General Manager, is here in his place for today's presentation. So on that, I'm going to hand it over to Paul and David for today's presentation from Millennium Forum. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Members, thanks for giving us the opportunity today to come and talk to you and give you an update on how the forum has performed in the last year. If we can look at the first slide now, that would be great. Give it a wee second there just to see if we can sort out this feedback here. Just to any viewers online, we're just trying to sort out some gremlins here. It seems to be us. Okay, apologies about that. We have seemed to have sorted out the issue there. Just a confirmation for our members online. If you can just put in the chat box there, has that been sorted for you? Okay, now there we go. Okay, just hand back over to Millennium Forum just on your presentation. And sorry, I didn't mention before, presentation is 10 minutes long, and then we'll open it to the floor for 10 minutes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So if we have a look at the first slide, you can see that as we approach our 25th anniversary year, which will encompass 26, 27, officially it'll be in August of 2026, but we plan to run it for the whole year because we opened in the August of 2001. And over that period, we will have had 8 million visitors into the forum, which is a remarkable number, averaging about 340,000 people a year coming through our doors and involving themselves in the projects that we run throughout the community and throughout the council area. It was a wee bit slow after we reopened from a COVID perspective. I think there was still that trepidation with regards to going into large spaces and stuff like that there. But last year has shown that we are now on an upward trend, hopefully, and long may it continue. Most shows have generally performed very, very well for us. And you will recall last year we did a presentation on the regional impact of the forum for the council area, which was demonstrating £32.5 million coming into the local economy. And from a council perspective, that meant that for every pound that the council invested in the Millennium Forum, £86 was returned on the basis of the funding from this year's. It was slightly less last year because the funding was slightly higher, but we had to accept the cuts that were imposed for the reasons that were discussed earlier. From a perspective of turnover, again, we had a really successful year. Turnover was 5.5 million, just over, against 4.8 million from 2023, which is an increase of some 15%. And again, it proves an appetite for the performances that we put on and the events that we run. And then from a building perspective, through the Northwest Business Awards and City Centre Initiative, we won the Brilliance in Business Award last year, which was basically the best business in the region. And I believe now we're the only organisation in the region to have won it twice, because we won it way back when it was called Business of the Year back in 2010. So I think that's a phenomenal achievement. In the same year, we also won Best Business in the whole of Northern Ireland, or Best Organisation in the whole of Northern Ireland from the Arts and Businesses Award, who are based in Belfast and who are huge supporters of the arts in general. So again, very, very promising and very encouraging that the work we're doing is recognised from that perspective. Next slide, please. So this next slide basically gives you some idea on the figures that we're dealing with within the forum. The primary one from the theatre's perspective is 156,500 people who came to see shows throughout 2024. Some of the major highlights for us were the West End productions of Sister Act, Shrek, Lord of the Dance, and A Visit After some 12 years from Mrs. Brown's Boys, who were a regular before they hit the big time on BBC back in 2012. And it was really encouraging that they came back and performed to sell out audiences for the week. From a local show perspective, there's definitely an exceptional vibrancy there within our region. And we were honoured to work with Londonderry Musical Society last year, who put on a production of Oliver, which sold out for the week. And was the best show that has ever been recorded from a local amateur perspective within the city. But we also had productions in from The Grove, from McCrae School of Drama, from Studio 47, who are based in Buncrana, and from the Ignite Project, who work with people in Strabane and Castlederg, and who produced Sweeney Todd in the summer. and all the shows were, to a general extent, very, very successful. The only one that suffered slightly was the Grove, because unfortunately they put their production on the same week as the Maritime Festival. But there was nothing we could do about it. It had been booked in before the Maritime Festival was announced, and audience numbers did suffer a wee bit for them. But it's upwards and onwards, and we're doing a number of shows with them next year. And they're getting bigger and better as well, because they put a production of Beauty and the Beast on this year past in Letterkenny in October. So it's all positive from that perspective. Other figures to look at are the 15,265 new customers, which proves that what we're doing is successful, because we're building, tomorrow's audience today. And, that number of new bookings who have never been to the theatre before, creating great foundation stones for the future from that point of view. And a few others that are worth looking at are, for example, the 69% bookings from an online perspective, which shows how customers' booking patterns have now changed. I mean, it was only a matter of a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, that figure wouldn't have been at 30%. So, and we expect with the new website that we're developing and the new trends that figure will rise, to 80% plus by the time we finish the 25th anniversary celebrations. Other figures that are worth looking at, and maybe I'll pass you over to Paul to discuss the conference and exhibitions, if that's okay.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Chair. The significance and the importance of the Millennium Forum hosting and managing global conferences within the city have an impact both socially and financially, and that shouldn't be underestimated. Welcoming delegates from around the world gives us the opportunity to showcase the venue, the city and the region. We know that from the data with Visit Derry that many of our conference delegates that attend for business then, having had such a positive experience in the city, return for leisure visits with their family over the festive periods and over the summer periods. Last year was certainly a significant year for the Millennium Forum in terms of conference, and welcomed over 36,500 delegates, be they there for small meetings and incentives or for large-scale conferences. Our previous largest conference, which was hosted pre-COVID in 2019, had 877 delegates from 75 countries. But we were delighted last year to, after a 99-year hiatus, welcome the Irish National Teachers Organisation to the city. That conference alone, with 940 delegates for 4 days, created 1,500 bed nights for the local hoteliers and was valued in the local economy at 1.8 million of an impact. And similarly, we hosted later on the year the Irish Thoracic Society, a medical conference with 570 delegates for 3 days almost. That was 1,000 bed nights, and that's estimated at 1.2 million in terms of its impact in the city. So the conference and meeting side of the business is of huge importance to both the Millennium Forum, but also to the city and the region. Thank you.
On just some of those other figures, the numbers attending our youth and socially prescribed community events remains very positive, as you can see from the figures that we've presented there. It's encouraging for our many life-affirming and audience-building projects, which we'll touch on later in the presentation. Examples include the dementia tea dances and the panto, which employed 7 out of 9 lead acts and actors who had come through our youth training schemes over the last few years. So again, we're bringing the talent back into the city. So we are, and we're proud of being able to do that. If we could have a wee look now at the next slide, that would be great. And basically, in this next slide, we're just going to break down where our audience come from. So you can see that the vast majority of our audience, approximately 2/3 of it, come from the city and the water side and from Donegal. But within the sort of the 45-minute travel time, over 80% of our audience is brought in from. It's good to see that because the numbers are increasing, audiences are coming from further afield to see shows. and that's down to the quality of the events that we're managing to put on at the theatre. So we are, but it's 19% now at the minute, and we want to build on that from a total number point of view. It's interesting, in the last year, it's gone up slightly in the Castle Derrick Strabane area by about 1%. So numbers are increasing from there. They're also increasing slightly in the Limavady and Coleraine area. But the percentage has gone down because the numbers are going up. It's not that people are coming in less numbers from BT 47 and 48. It's just, you know, when you take the percentage across the board with the numbers that we're dealing with now, the percentages are leveling out a wee bit more. But it's all very, very encouraging from that perspective. If we can move on now to the first video, that would be brilliant. And what I want to do in this first video is just give you an idea of the general social impact that we have, both from a youth perspective and from a social prescribing perspective, you know, with the work that we do throughout the whole community within the region. It lasts about a minute and a half, so let's have a wee look at it and see how we get on.
Fortunately, the video is the issue with that noise we were having at the start. No, it's not.
Yeah, the next one will be a video also.
Is it? We could try this one, see.
Sorry, just through you, Chair. Could we just get those sent out to us, if that's okay, so we can see them? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lewis. I was just going to suggest that as well. We can get them sent out to members anyway, so they'll not miss out on the ability to watch it in their own time then. That's unfortunate that we have some criminals today.
I'm pleased to inform members that if you saw the video, you would have saw the work that we did with the Youth Forum over the summer last year throughout the city, and the number of people that were involved in it was extremely encouraging. But we've also just been awarded over £2,000 by the GP Federation and the Western Trust, and this money will support the next 6 months of our dementia-friendly tea dances. But from our perspective, it's more important that our health sector has recognised the work we're doing from that perspective, because we're looking to become the first socially prescribing theatre in the whole of Ireland. And it's a great step forward for us, you know, where people can hopefully go to their GPs and maybe be prescribed project within the Millennium Forum to come to. And that funding from the GP Federation gives you the confidence that the road we're on is the right road. We were then going to look at the next video, because we recognise, you know, from the forum's perspective, the staff and board in particular, that the theatre and we are the custodians of a wonderful building which is, you know, approaching 25 years old. This creates significant challenges in terms of investment and to maintain the fabric of the building, not only in terms of time but money. And in the previous year, we had invested some £450,000 in the building. We completed a complete refurb of the main auditorium over the summer of 2024. It included new seats in the main auditorium. So we've got 1,000 brand new seats. We have brand new carpets in, a new floor on the stalls, which is the bottom level of the theatre, and it was completely repainted. And we've also for want of a better word, modernised a couple of the rooms, the east wall bar, which is the bottom bar at door A and B level, and the upstairs bar, which takes you through to the studio theatre. We brought in a local designer, Donald Starkey, who was on the BBC design programme last year, and he's helped us with the design work. And the video, which hopefully you'll get a look at when it's sent out to you, will demonstrate how badly we needed to do that, because one of the big problems that we faced during COVID was moths, and we were badly attacked by moths during let's call it the 2-year closure. And they basically ate away at the carpets, and it would have been demonstrated lovely on the videos and stuff like that there, and the fabric of the seats and stuff like, stuff like that there. And we spent, upwards of £10,000 trying to get rid of the moths. So we think they came in fabric, and then because of they remained dormant, and because the theatre wasn't being used, they came back to life and just ate their way through the building. So they did. But we've also looked at other things that we have to do from a legal perspective. And last year we spent nearly £50,000 on the behest of the fire service to do remedial work on additional fire doors and other works to obtain our entertainment license, which we were surprised at, considering we were only we're only in our infancy at this moment in time. But it's important to make sure that people are safe and secure. But again, it was money that we weren't expecting to spend. But hopefully you'll see it when you look at the video. And as I say, we're happy to answer any questions then, from that point of view. Sorry, I expected the video up, but if we can move on to the next slide, that would be brilliant. You could 15, just as well. We didn't have the videos in. That is well. The next video is the last video, and it's basically our future challenges. So it is. So you will see very, very quickly. I mean, we've basically touched on it. Upkeep of a 25-year-old building. Plans this summer coming to develop the wall and the side of the building down East Wall beside St Colum's Hall. We recognise that the stonework there is in a bad state of repair, and we want to look at electronic signage and stuff from that perspective. It'll be another big investment from the theatre's perspective. We estimate somewhere in the region of £160,000, £170,000. Continuing to encourage world-class artists and shows to the city has become problematic over the last year. We need to look at our ticket price from an admission perspective and stuff like that, because we are slightly behind what other theatres are charging. We have a 7-week forced closure over a busy summer period for public realm works. Now, that doesn't mean that the theatre's closing, but it means that we can't put on any performances because they're closing Bank Place, and none of the shows would be able to get up Bank Place to offload and put sets and stuff into the stage. But we will continue our summer projects and stuff like that, although we want to do a lot of that in the community again this year. But it is going to cause us problems, and it puts us in the back foot, at the start, because financially, we don't know where we'll stand from a profit and loss point of view, having lost those 7 weeks with a number of large-scale productions that we were planning to put on. Again, we have to look at addressing the regional imbalance, which is being handled at the minute by the co-delivery group. But hopefully, we know the council is fully behind addressing this problem, and that members will talk to people within the assembly, and hopefully we can see some sort of address in it. And then another problem that we feel will be significant for us going forward is the recent changes announced by the government with regards to increase in salary costs, such as national insurance, which we estimate will cost us some £40,000 in addition to what we had budgeted for next year. And that's basically it. So thanks for listening. And if you've got any questions, we're happy to try and answer them. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. And just from myself, the Millennium Forum is a great asset to the town, and thank you to yourselves and all your staff. The amazing work you're doing, and just in your presentation there, and your wide scoping across many age groups and themes and stuff as well. So thank you very much. We're just going to open it up to the floor here. First indicated speaker that I can see is Councillor Alderman Middleton.
Thank you, Chair, for letting me in. And on behalf of the DEP, I would like to thank David and Paul for your attendance today and for your positive and very open presentation. I will look forward to seeing the videos as well. I particularly have noticed over the past number of years the amazing work that the Millennium Forum is doing, the actual just natural efforts of including members of our community who have special educational needs and disabilities. I happen, aside from council, to work for Foyland Syndrome Trust, and I hear so many amazing stories of amazing experiences within the Millennium Forum. It's great for those people that I work with. It's great for their social skills, their confidence, and just their overall happiness. So I really want to commend you on that. Like many here in the chamber and those of us who are working hybrid today, I have spent many wonderful evenings in the forum, both with family and friends. The acts have been absolutely incredible. And it's been really good just for our mental health, our well-being, and just getting out and about, experiencing a wee bit of culture. So thank you for that. I look forward to many more years of attending the forum to come. As a party, we wish you every success, and we would like to offer you very much a lot of praise and encouragement for the work you have done, but also the work that you will be doing in the future. And we would also like to offer our support as you work through future challenges and current challenges. We are here to support you and we are behind you. So thank you for your time today. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Alderman Middleton. Next indicated speaker is Alderman Guy.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to David and Paul for the presentation. You have already answered my question about the bed space, so just two other questions. Have you seen an increase since the Waterside Theatre closed? Have you seen an increase in maybe ones coming to the daytime events that these are running, the classes and stuff for dementia and stuff like that? I know they done a lot of work on them with elderly and young people as well. Have you maybe tapped into that work that they were doing there and maybe tried to bring it into the forum? And the 7-week closure, I think it's over July and August. I know just with taxiing and stuff like that, that August was always sort of a quiet period for you in the evening with major events. So there was never really a run of shows as such. There may have been the odd event, and I know there does be odd events in August. Is it really, in general, how much would you be sort of losing out on there July and August in the evening trade? I know obviously the daytime trade's still open because they can come in the front and there's no big productions or anything like that. But what do you reckon these are losing out? We having to close for that July and August period, the major evening events. But thanks for the presentation as well.
Thank you. Through the chair. Our daytime events, because we present them at no cost to any of the participants, are normally completely sold out weeks and weeks in advance. So we haven't seen any, surge since the Waterside Theatre has closed. Our events have been running for a number of years now, and because of the way we do them, we haven't looked to expand. We've just looked to see if we can develop in other areas, from a community perspective. So I hope that addresses your first question. The second one is a wee bit more tricky. We had a number of shows, which I don't think I can discuss here in this chamber, that were interested in performing at the forum in the summer. Some of them would be linked into going to Belfast as well. So you can look at what was going on in Belfast and see what might have been coming to the city. We have, for the last number of years since we reopened after COVID, tried to develop a summer programme. We did a big West End musical back in 22, I think it was, of 6, which was the story of the wives of Henry VIII. And it was extremely successful in August. We are finding that what we do in July is a wee bit more youth orientated. So in previous years, we had done our youth musical and had developed that very, very strongly. We didn't do it last year and we probably will not be doing it this year. We're investigating possibilities of trying to do it this summer. And I know it gets very complicated, but we're trying to, can we get a set, and can we bring the set in June? And how much will we be charged for the set to have it sitting there for 6 or 7 weeks? And then can we get it taken out on the Saturday before the Rocky Horror Show comes back in? And if we can do that, we may very well try and do the youth musical again, because I don't want to be doing the first one in our first one after an absence of 2 years in our 25th anniversary year. I don't want to lose the momentum that we've gained over the last 15 years. But we take great pride in all that we do over the summer months from that perspective, and that we do it free of charge. So there's no barriers being presented to anybody that wants to be involved in the youth musical or wants to be involved in any of the projects that we do throughout the whole of the city's, the city region from that perspective. As I say, we will be working over the next few weeks on a business plan with regards to what we think we will potentially lose over those 7 weeks. But I suppose at this minute in time, I would say we have a wage bill which across the year works out at around about £26,000 a week. And so for those 6 or 7 weeks, there won't be any income coming in. So we need to try and balance that off. Now, we did it last year because, again, and we didn't have time to go into it, but we had discussions with the Northwest Development Office back in 23 with regards to potentially doing the work last year. And we took the decision in September of 2023 to do the refurbishment work specifically to allow them to do that. It didn't happen. And they didn't come back to us until July, August of last year to say they were doing it next year or this year. So we sort of got caught between the devil and the deep blue sea with regards to it. And we accept that they didn't give us any guarantees that they were doing it in 2024, but they opened discussions with us to say we potentially would be looking to do it then. And didn't seem to understand that we have to program and do, all that sort of stuff 10, 11, 12 months in advance. We can't in theory put a show on 2 months before it happens. I have shows on sale now for January, February, March of 2026. And that's just how it works in the business that we operate in. But I hope that answers your questions.
One other thing, and that the contractor's not been more. I know it's tight going down there in Bank Place, trying to get in there. But have they not been more accommodating? 7 weeks is an awful long time for a business like your own. They sort of have to put things on hold at that there. I do think they could have accommodated you a bit better there. Yeah. But thanks for all.
Thank you, Alderman Guy. Our next indicated speaker is Councillor Nunes.
Gormaga, thanks for letting me in. Thanks for the presentation. It's a shame we didn't get to watch those videos, but we will take the time to watch them in our own time to see the problems that you're having at the minute and to see all the positive work you're doing as well. On behalf of Sinn Féin, we thank Millennium Forum for all they do. The shows are becoming more and more powerful every year. I mean, I've got my tickets ready for Hairspray, really looking forward to that, all singing, all dancing performance. And I was actually chatting to one of your staff the other day and I hear the pantomime's well underway as well. So, that the work that you do within the community and the shows that you're putting on are just, really at par now. So fair play for all the hard work that's going into it. Just in terms of questions, ticket prices and the website, just when is it going to be live? I had heard before that work was being done will make a massive difference for promotion of the Millennium Forum. And then the ticket prices as well. Just are they priced as a block, no matter where your postcode is? Or are they dependent on whether there's local? It's just my sister was at an event recently and she didn't realise that she'd paid a different price because obviously it wasn't the Millennium Forum, it was a different place, but she had paid a price and the people who were local to that theatre paid a different price, a cheaper price. So I'm just wondering, is that something that's ever been discussed or is that the way it works within yourselves? And then conferencing as well, sorry, is there any other planned big conferences coming up or where are you with that? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lewis. So we hope to have the website live by the beginning of April. They're working on a few bits and bobs now, but it should be up and running from then. With regards to ticket prices is tricky, because sometimes ticket prices are dictated to you by the acts that come, and at other times we dictate the ticket price. And what we try and do is be as fair as possible. I mean, a recent example is of a show that we have on with us at the end of March, and it's also on in Belfast. And we had a group booking of 10 people coming from Draperstown who booked with us because we were £10.50 cheaper than the same show in Belfast, and it's a local production from here. Within the auditorium itself, we have a number of areas, and normally on the big shows, for example, Hairspray, which you commented on, we approach it from a 3-tiered ticket price. So you have, your premium tickets, which are in your better seated areas, although there are no per seats in the Millennium Forum, other than potentially the boxes, believe it or not, because the vibe within theatre is boxes are to be seen in and not to see from. But we would have seats in the upper circle towards the sides, which would probably be the cheapest. And then it depends on the day of the week that you're coming as well. So you could sit in the upper circle and watch Hairspray on the Tuesday night, potentially for £15 less than you would see it downstairs in the stalls on the Saturday night. And that's about trying to make it as accessible as possible as well, so that we have tickets for everybody. And what we also try and do is we try and bring in as many concession tickets as possible. So, if we can put a concessionary ticket in there, we will. We're investigating plans for the 25th anniversary year to see if we can introduce potentially a very, very cheap ticket for new bookers and for young people to come to the theatre, but we will need a bit of support in that and a bit of sponsorship. So we're trying to source that at this minute in time. But I feel that we're extremely competitive, and I would argue that 99 times out of 100, you won't get a cheaper ticket price for a show anywhere, on the island of Ireland, and especially if you compare us to the Dublins and the Belfasts and the Cork, we're substantially cheaper. And the shows that we control ourselves, for example, like the Panto, there's no competition there whatsoever. We're £15-20 cheaper than you would go and see a pantomime in Belfast or Dublin. And that's because we can control the costs and we can control, what we need to bring in from that perspective. So we're proud of what we do from a ticket point of view. And I accept that there are shows that we put on which might be out of some people's reach. But we have to be able to bring those shows to the city. So we do.
Sorry, just to say, I wasn't saying that at all as a criticism for the ticket prices. It was just that, that some places do, when you go to buy tickets, you have to put in your postcode first, and the price is dependent on whether you're a local postcode or not. It's just a query, but it definitely wasn't a criticism on your ticket prices.
I know there wasn't a criticism. I appreciate it. Thanks very much. I'll pass you over to Paul for the conference.
Thank you, Councillor List, for the question on conference. And yes, upcoming conferences. The challenge with conferences is that the large-scale conferences tend to have a long lead-in time. And in fact, when we look back at INTO and the ITS, those are in 5-year cycles, to actually finalise and from the first initial meeting right through. And the challenge is, yes, we have some, but none of them are over the line as yet. And that is the challenge to us. And I suppose that challenge is cemented in that we have a partnership that we work with Visit Derry, very, very closely, and collaborate with them in terms of trying to attract the conference. And they are the people that are out in the marketplace working on our behalf and on the hoteliers' behalf. So that partnership and collaboration that we have with them is absolutely vital. We have a few, but as yet they're not over the line, and I would be cautious about saying who they are just from a commercial reasons, if that's okay. Thank you.
Okay, we still have a few indicated speakers, folks, so I'm just going to ask you to keep your questions short and the answers shorter. Because we have 10 minutes of presentation, 10 minutes from the floor. And it's not everything you have to say is very important, and your answers are very important as well. It's just we've got to stick within our protocols. Thank you. Our next indicated speaker is Councillor Hart. Councillor Hutton.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to Paul and David for your presentation today. And I'll be looking forward to watching the videos as well, because I do know the great work that has been done over the past while with the Youth Forum. I suppose I don't have any questions. It's just to congratulate you on the Business Award. And also, I can't believe that it's open 25 years. I did get a shock when I seen that today. And just a comment from me in relation to the relationship that the Forum has with the community as a whole. I think the premises that you provide to the community, whether it's through the tea dance, the youth forum, the health fairs, it's a safe place where people like to go. And I think it's a place where not everybody gets to go to the Millennium Forum, but whenever there's open community events like that, it's an opportunity. Also, there was a book launch there in November, stuff like that through the men's support programme, What Makes a Man. Lisa and Mags and the team organised that. I just think stuff like that is really, really important, as well as the health fair that happens every April. I go to that health fair every year that's organised by ARC, and the amount of organisations that sit in the corridors where people are accessing services is really, really important. And I know the stuff that Grace and other speakers have spoken about is really important as well, but I just feel that this community side of things is also what we should be promoting, that is a space for people to go, to promote their organisations in relation to health and wellbeing, and allow others to come and visit. And just one last comment in relation to the social prescribing. Social prescribing, in my opinion, is the answer when it comes to health and wellbeing and looking after people's mental and emotional wellbeing as well. And if a GP can give you a prescription to go and dance in the Millennium Forum with your friends, then we're on a win there. So congratulations, that is absolutely amazing news. And I know it's only starting out and it's only £2,000, but the difference you're going to make in people's lives is going to be long lasting. So I just wanted to commend you as well and having that social prescribing element within your premises. So thank you very much for coming on today. Wish you every success. And just thank you as well for the pantomime. We're treated like royalty every year when we come along, and our children just be looking forward to it. So thanks a million, guys.
Thank you, Councillor Hutton. Our next indicated speaker is Councillor Mooney.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to David and Paul for coming on now. On behalf of the SDLP, I'd like to congratulate you and thank you for the presentation. The questions I've had have all been probably asked here because I was on the tail end here, obviously, but just to say thank you. And just to suppose we have to sort of acknowledge that the theme of part of the theme of your presentation was that you've been trading in challenging times coming out of COVID, and that's readily apparent from obviously from the situation we were talking about the moths and then obviously investing more money into the building and things to keep you going. And I suppose that's readily apparent and readily acknowledged from council as well, because we were in a challenging process ourselves there a couple of years ago and things like that there. But just one point, it was touched on by Councillor Unilis. I think she was asking about ticket prices, but maybe I didn't pick it up right. Were you, in your presentation, David, were you suggesting that you might have to put up prices, or you were revising your ticket prices? And that sort of, obviously in the challenging climate and the context we're in. And you did acknowledge, I think, that you were probably around this sort of jurisdiction, you were probably the best priced. But are you contemplating, or have you done any work on that? Thank you.
Thank you. At this minute in time, our top price ticket for a West End production is around about £49, and it's just not beneficial enough for the companies to be coming here on that price. I mean, it's not for all shows, but if we want to be able to continue to attract the big West End type shows, which are the big income generators for the city, not as much for us, believe it or not, but for the city, because you get a lot of people coming in and booking the hotel rooms and booking the restaurants and stuff like that on the back of them, we have to consider going up in price. And what we're trying to do is achieve a premium show for 26, which has never been to the city before, which is a massive West End production. And basically dipping our toe in the water with regards to, an expensive ticket price for it, probably up towards the top of the 50s, as opposed to the top of the 40s. I mean, there is precedent there for expensive shows. I mean, we brought Van Morrison a few years back and his average ticket price was around about 75 to 85 pound. And there is a show currently on sale which was sold out with a top price ticket of 349 pound. And every ticket was gone for it. There's still a few left now because the dates were moved. And okay, it was a football show. It was two Man United footballers, but you know, people were prepared to pay £349 to come and see them, you know, talking in the Millennium Forum. So we have to balance what people can afford with what people can't afford, and what we need is a range of ticket prices. So even though we'll bring this show potentially in 2026, and there will be quite a high ticket price, we will try and keep the lower end of the ticket price similar to what it is now. So it still encourages, you know, people who may not be able to afford, you know, a big price to try and still book for it. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mooney. And our last indicated speaker is Alderman Hussey.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, guys, for the presentation. And can I welcome the postcode revelations, and I think that's come about from previous questions around this that we've had. I welcome that BT81, BT82, BT78, 79. We can see the figures in there, and I really appreciate that. I like Councillor Hutton. I congratulate you sincerely on your business awards, which I suppose brings me then to the kernel of what I want to query. And businesses have income and expenditure accounts. And I don't know if it's possible to actually see that. And the reason for asking that is later on we'll be looking at the SLA and the contribution from council, which is around about £250,000 to the forum and its workings. And can I say that I sincerely congratulate you on the recognition of the need to be more realistic in your ticket pricing. And I think that has to be. I don't see why, you know, people in Londonderry should expect to pay £10 or £12 less than they would pay for the same show in Belfast. I don't see why. That shouldn't be. And at very least, there has to be at least cost recovery on any production. I know I have entertainment in my own premises. My premises are in excess of 250 years old. So you can imagine the overheads. And I can imagine the overheads that you would have within the theatre. And it's not just, you know, paying the artists, etc. It's keeping the fabric and all of that sort of stuff. But that has to be built in to cost recovery. But I congratulate you on recognising that. And I would urge you to have comparative pricing to others who are producing the same shows, because you're giving just exactly the same value to your clients. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Alderman Hussey. I would say that I agree with a lot of what you're saying there, but what you have to understand from our perspective is we're still very much in our infancy here. We're only approaching 25 years of operation, where theatres that have been discussed in Dublin, Belfast, Cork, for example, and over on the rest of the UK have been operating 50 to 150 years. So we're still trying to develop our audience here, and to develop the audience, you have to make the package as attractive as possible. I think it would be wrong of us at this minute in time to try and get into a pricing war with Belfast. That's not what we're about. What we're trying to do is make it as attractive for the people here as possible. And we are trying our best, you know, to work within the means that, you know, that we have. This theatre, when it was developed as a project, and I can put my hands up and say, I think you used the expression earlier on, poacher term gamekeeper. I was the de facto arts officer and the venue manager for the City Council back in 95, 96, when we muted the project and started the development of the project. And we put out the ethos that the Millennium Forum would be built at no cost to the ratepayer and run at no additional cost to the ratepayer. We achieved the first element. It was built at no cost to the ratepayer, and we are now running it at substantially less of a cost to the ratepayer than we were back in 96. So we are gradually getting there, but it'll take a bit more time, you know, to be where you're hoping that we get to, for want of a better word. But I hope that answers your question. Go some way towards it.
If I may come back very briefly, Chair, it does indeed answer my question, and I'm not criticising the service level agreement because it's giving value for money on what you're providing via that service level agreement, but it's just the overall economics of running an entertainment venue. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you again for your presentation, and we're very lucky to have the Millennium Forum in the town. And thank you for all the work that you're doing. Thank you to all the members and your questions. Hopefully, you all had your chance to ask your questions and you got your answers. Sorry, we're a wee bit pushed for time, but you know how it is. We're just going to take a few minutes just to swap our deputations here.
and St. Patrick's Day Parade. So I suppose I'll start with Halloween. If you want to click to the next slide. Halloween saw us organise a wide-ranging series of activity under the Day of the Dead Carnival programme. We engaged over 600 participants, rolling out a series of community workshops and small-scale prop production workshops right across the city. And in addition, we delivered our Solace Light Sculpture Trail in partnership with St. Colum's Cathedral as part of the Awakening the Walls programme. If you want to go to the next slide, we can go through a number of slides. Just that's an image of some of our creative team who basically, for those who don't know, we recruit groups in an open call, and after that point then we engage groups who are won in either performance workshops or craft workshops. That's the particular workshops are in the City of Derry Rugby Club, which was really uplifting because, you know, when you regularly organise civic celebrations and parades, it's always important that we don't go back to the same people, that we try and engage as widely as possible. And Rugby Club were unique in that, not unique, but they provided a large section to the parade, in excess of 60 members participating, which is phenomenal. But in terms of the enthusiasm they brought and how they engaged right across all our activity was fantastic. Just on that, in addition to the 600 participants, we also, over the Halloween period, supported a number of organisations who were, across the community who were involved in their own individual Halloween events, like haunted houses, for example. But to that end, we supported the New Buildings Cricket and Soccer Clubs, Studio 2 events in your space, St Joseph's Secondary School, Craigan Community Enterprise in the Craigan neighbourhood, and in Gale Aris, to name but a few. If you want to click on, we have a few more slides, please. That's some of the workshops actually out in the rugby club. Next. And keep going. These are some of our creative team actually producing some of the larger props. These are workshops that have took place in Descent. Keep going. And these are some images of the actual parade itself. If you want to click through them. I mean, everybody knows Derry's now well on the map for delivering a fantastic festival at Halloween. And it's not by accident that the parade is an actual flagship. It's a one kind of public demonstration of community participation where everyone can get involved. Keep going. And complementing the parade itself, we regularly participate in the Awakening the Walls programme, and this is a continuation of a collaboration we've had over the last number of years with St Colin's Cathedral. We produced a light-based lantern trail called Solace Colin Kill, appropriately enough, taking place in the grounds of St Colin's Cathedral. Keep going. There's just a few more shots of that. The beauty of this is not only do we engage local artists in the production of the actual sculptural pieces themselves, but Halloween isn't certainly something that's associated with the Christian churches, certainly. So we obviously deliver programming that is not, against their religious beliefs, but it's important and it's a useful way of keeping them involved in Halloween, if not directly in maybe like supporting paganism. The project itself works in partnership with the community and the arts groups across the town. Our board are made up, we're really representative. They're made up of arts organisations like In Your Space, Studio 2, UK Arts, SOS, and this year we got representation from 3 new communities, the Kipalakat Northwest, long-time supporters of the parade that obviously represent the Filipino community and the African and Caribbean community network, and also a member of the Foyle Pride Festival. So, we feel that it's important, and we've still got work to do. Obviously, it's important for us organisationally if we're, if a key area of our activity is promoting civic celebration, that our board reflects that. There's no point a bunch of hairy men sitting around a table and, and that's not going to be representative of the communities out there. The communities are quite varied, so we want to ensure that we represent those communities. Next slide, please. Last year, in terms of, we're currently obviously working on the St. Patrick's Day Spring Carnival parade at the moment, but last year, it covers this period, we engaged with, I'll just get some stats for you here. City-based St. Patrick's Day programming, participating groups included Northwest Carnival Samba Band, the Colin Pipe Band, In Your Space Circle, Class Act, Studio 2 Drama, dance groups from right across the city. And for anyone, I'm sure you've all been to one parade or another. What's really striking about the parades is the amount of performance-based groups. So, the parades, either at Halloween or Patrick's Day, provide a great showcase event for the various performance groups to strut their stuff. But in addition to that, there's sporting organisations involved. I've mentioned the rugby club. There's also a whole series of GA groups, soccer clubs like the Oxford Bulls that work exclusively with young people with learning difficulties, and soccer groups like TriStar. Other groups participating are also some of the members who form the board, as in the Caribbean Community Network, Foyle Pride Destin, Glen Development Initiative, and several groups representing the youth sector. Out of the darkness and into the light programming, that's we organised under that theme, delivered over 104 different activities with participation numbers exceeding in excess of 1,000 participants. Excuse me, engaging a total of 14 carnival artists and facilitators and 13 volunteers. But the standout figure of last year's parade was the overall participant numbers were in excess of 900 participants. So that's testimony the reach we have and the fact that people buy into the civic celebrations. So if you want to click on a few, that's the parade, obviously coming down Shapey Street, and there's examples of some of the performance groups. That's our samba band, which has grown from strength to strength. Keep going. Yep. Later on. I also had a film, by the way, but I'm glad I haven't put it on because it would have sounded probably like a rave night with all that interference. And these are some of the performance groups. Obviously, there's loads of walking groups, but the performance groups provide a lot more animation. So it's something we're looking at in the future in terms of trying to make community groups a bit more animated in terms of how they actually walk and perform on the parade. Keep going. And again, these dance groups are right across the city and district. They're not exclusive to any one neighbourhood. That's the Oxford Bulls soccer team I was telling you about. Keep going. So the Carnival delivers a series or delivers services through its various Carnival skills and community support programs to over 3,000 people each year. And that ranges, from small handheld prop workshops, dance performance workshops, and we also do activity and organise master classes that's aimed specifically at trying to upskill existing artists or trying to encourage new and emerging artists. Obviously, I mean, the COVID has left a legacy in terms of within the arts community that's been really noticeable. Since COVID, a lot of creatives have left that field. We have really been affected badly by the lack of working artists out there. So it's obviously the forefront of our activity, trying to encourage and promote more in that area. If you want to patter on. We not only do we support artists by actually providing opportunities for them to earn a living, we also support them through our workshop and our Carnival workshop up in Craigan, providing space support, be that using our assets or just basically having the space somewhere to come and create. That's also our kind of, it fits in with our kind of rationale in terms of supporting artists to grow. Keep going. A key part of the activity we also organise is developing skills in Strabane and rural. Now we have within the SLA we have £8,000 that we use that's for the purposes of trying to encourage groups to participate in the Strabane parade. But in addition to that, we have also secured over the last number of years additional resources via the Arts Council, specifically aimed at master classes. You'll see an example of a master class coming up now if you want to just batter on that happened in the current year. Planting a Seed Sunflower Sculpture Workshops was organised, concluded last January, where we basically recruited participants from across Strabane and rural Castledare and all the small hamlets. We had 18 people that participated in the workshops over a number of weeks. It was quite unusual and it attracted almost exclusively women. I think there was one man, but the actual event itself, or the workshops themselves, was really successful. It introduced the arts, the particular art form, as in willow weaving. A lot of the artists, a lot of the people there weren't actually artists, but they've subsequently got, that's give them a taste of, working creatively. Here's some of the groups that participated in our Strabane St. Patrick's Day programme. This is Much Ado, where we basically, the Strabane end of things is basically, if a group signs up for the Strabane Parade, we then work directly with them in terms of trying to encourage them to make their own creative impact. That's the Special Olympics, who regularly participate. These images are all current. They're from last year, if you want to patter on. In addition to providing workshops in terms of handheld props or banners, we also delivered 90 actual physical costumes that were used by some of the performance acts, and that's one of them, our class act. So it's about creating a legacy. Not only do we promote artists to upskill themselves, but we also create actual physical assets. So it means that, whereas before a lot of the costumes for the parade might have been bought in, we're physically creating them, so they're there to be used thereafter. I have some other kind of details that don't have slides to accompany them, but I'll just go through some of the highlights. I spoke a bit about the Strabane stuff. Some of the groups directly engaged are Much Ado, Class Act, Encore, Neve McGranahan School of Irish Dance, Euphoria, Cheerleading, Strabane Silent Swift Ladies Team, Strabane Shamrocks, Owen Rose, Sigerson, CAC, Neve Owen, and Knockavo School. If I can now maybe talk about some of the other activity. We worked with the Fela over their Lunasa Festival programme. This is outside of the SLA, but it's an example of where we provide a costume and a whole series of parade workshops. It not only allows us to engage with a community, but it also provides valuable outcome to the organisation, because ultimately we have to generate our own income to ensure the sustainability of the organisation. Let me see. We launched, which I was going to show, and I'll make sure the members get it, because I can speak here all day, but the short film I had is 10 minutes long. It looks at the activity of last year, as in the parade at Halloween and some of the rural activity from the point of view of the participants, and that speaks more than all the waffle I can do up here. So I would encourage members to check that out. We've also prioritised engagement across the water side this year.
Sorry to interrupt you, Jim. Just at the video, if you want to send the link over to who you've been liaising with, and we'll get it sent out. And just also, you're on 50 minutes there now.
Right. Okay.
So you're 5 minutes over.
Well, finally, I'll conclude with talking about the waterside engagement. Obviously, our chair this year is Alison Wallace from the Waterside Neighbour Partnership, so we regularly engage with her in terms of making open calls to try and get people involved and spread the word. But I've also been involved with the Waterside Arts Advocacy Group and had meetings with Alderman Naireen McMorris and Chelsea Cook, and the new group out in the Waterside Fuse Arts, along with obviously council officers. That's something we want to develop and we want to encourage. Finally, looking to the future, we're going to engage with a number of funding organisations, the Peace Plus Changemakers programme. They look at the potential for cross-border activity. Capacity is always a problem, but what we've successfully argued with council officers is, if you invest in us, there's a legacy. It's good to buy stuff in from outside because it brings on you, but that's one area we want to develop going forward, in terms of, if you spend money on artists here, that benefits the product here, it benefits the arts community here. So that's on where we're going to explore going forward. So thank you.
Thanks very much, Jim. Just from myself, that knowing firsthand and seeing firsthand the work that you do, working alongside these within the arts is you're totally amazing what you do, and well done to you and all your team. And thank you for your presentation today. We're just going to open it up to the floor here. Alderman Guy.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, Jim, for the presentation. On a personal note, thanks for sorting out new buildings too. I was really appreciated by them, and it was at short notice, and you sorted them out. We're all very thankful. Like, just want to commend you in the creativity that's shown every year. You just outdo yourself every year with the costumes and stuff like that. And I know it's down a lot to different community groups and stuff like that, but it should sort of lead the way and sort of show them and bring them along and use your experiences to help them out. But just great to see that you're coming more onto the water side now. I know Alison was always keen to get that there, and I know with Chelsea running Tully Alley Community Centre now, she's willing there for the women's group and all to get involved. So all good, and long may it continue. So thanks for the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Guy. Councillor Hutton.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks very much, Jim, for coming in and giving us the presentation today. I have to say, I have seen the film that was produced by Fela, and it was brilliant. It's a 10-minute film that captures within 10 minutes the amount of work that you're doing across the district. The geographical reach, even within the movie, is inspiring to show how many groups that you're actually working for, and the fact that you're now reaching out and working with groups on the water side as well. So the film is really good, so everybody watch it whenever it's sent out. The diversity of the work and the range of participants that you're working with as well. And I think when we're on the streets watching the parades, there's not one person watching that doesn't know somebody on the parade. So that just shows you how many groups that are actually coming together, taking part. And there's just a wide range of different communities taking place as well. I think we do recognise the disruption to the arts through COVID in relation to performances, exhibitions, creative work as a whole. But it is good to see that you are exploring those other funding opportunities as well. So I suppose from Sinn Féin's point of view, it's just to commend you in the work that you're doing and how your leadership shows on the success of the parades and the programmes that are run throughout the year, and the capacity issue that you've duly noted. I've duly noted that as well in relation to how many staff that are employed. But it's just to say well done. The long hours, the hardships, the management of people alone, because when you're bringing so many people together through the volunteer system, that's a job in itself, keeping everybody happy and ensuring that they're doing the job right. Just to say thanks a million, Jim, and we can't wait for this year's parade. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hutton. Our next indicated speaker is Alderman Middleton.
Thank you, Chair, for letting me in, and thank you, Jim, for joining us once again. It's lovely to see you and hear your really positive presentation. On behalf of the DEP, we thank you for your time and your ongoing work. We also thank you that you have a vision for the whole district and you're not just focused on one particular area or one particular group. That's wonderful, and it's just the sort of work that we need to see within the whole district. I'm not going to start naming specific areas within my district of the Faughan, but I do know many groups that have benefited from working on the projects or within the festivals. Pleasing to see the ongoing outreach work in the water side. And certainly as a rural councillor, I am so glad to see the work that you're doing throughout the rural. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I suppose what I've learned over the years is that, if you engage with communities, either through their political representatives or their, community organisations, we're pushing an open door. Do know that. I mean, there's no one out there that doesn't want to get involved in creativity. So, in terms of rural communities, we are mindful of the fact that although the showcases happen centrally in terms of within the city, that doesn't exclude people from participating. So and to say we're bringing our own ideas in terms of trying to unlock additional money gained, because there are funds out there. I mean, the last 3 years we've received money through the Rural Engagement Arts Programme via the Arts Council, and we've been successful on 3 occasions, and that has allowed us to go to rural communities and engage them, and that's on. With greater capacity, we would certainly do a whole lot more. Everything's about capacity. I know you are sick, probably sore and tired hearing about people, promoting it, and we're this, we're that. But the reality is, organisationally, I'm the only full-time member of staff. So I've had a few other people working with me. I'm not saying that it's the council's responsibility, but as a board, our board are recognising the fact that in order for us to deliver and engage more people, we have to increase our capacity in terms of staff.
Thank you, Alderman Middleton and Jim, for your answer. Our next indicated speaker is Councillor Mooney.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Jim. Just I think everything's been said anyway, but my patch to the water side, and Alderman Guy had mentioned too that he was glad to see the outreach was on the water side, which is great because the carnival's for everybody, I suppose, and everybody should, and developing the right outreach into the rural areas as well, which is even better as well. So just say thank you very much, and thank you for your endeavours. I truly appreciate it. So thank you, Jim. Cheers.
Thank you, Councillor Mooney. Our next speaker is Councillor Harkin.
Thanks, Jim, for coming in. Sorry I'm not in the chamber today, but I can see you. But yeah, look, I don't think I can add anything in terms of the thanks from council members to you and everybody that works with you on the what you produce and what you create for the city and for the district. I mean, it's genuinely amazing. And I think that you probably know that based on the feedback here, but also the feedback that you get from, about St. Patrick's Day, about the Halloween festival. It's genuinely, things that people look forward to, and not just people in the city and the district, but right across the world that come here to enjoy those events. So, I think that this is one of our big success stories, and I think that you've got a lot to do with that, and the people that you work with, and the organisations that get involved. And I think that it's clear every time you come in here that the outreach and the participation of different groups and different areas and different communities in different geographical areas is growing, and that is that is great for the council to see. But again goes back to the effort that you're putting in, and I think that is I think a lot of people would probably be shocked to find out that there's only one full-time person involved in this. So I very much hear you about capacity. And then I had 2 questions, Jim, because look, I think that there's just, that there is, you're going to get a lot of thanks for the work that you do, because, and rightfully so. And then, like, I suppose if you want to comment, I mean, a lot of organizations right now, for example, in the hospitality industry, are really struggling to get workers because of the pay, and because maybe it's the case that people will be able to get paid better in Letterkenny or Muff right now because of changes to the hospitality VAT. And I'm wondering, just in terms of like creative workers, arts and culture workers, is there just lots of them ready to go to work, or is that is there a limit in that as well, given what we are able to offer them? Because that's important in terms of expansion and growing this. Because at the end of the day, the arts and those workers are key to kind of getting people involved at the community level. Another question is, look, the reason why these events are successful is because of that community spirit and tapping into it and opening that door and giving people the opportunity to get involved. But there is, in my mind at least, a tension between the kind of trying to make this an economic success for the council and the district, and then trying to maintain and encourage and develop that community participation and spirit. And so I'm just curious about your thoughts on that. And then just, if you know, obviously Jim is also very much part of the arts and culture co-design group that's been involved in lobbying the Department for Communities and the Arts Council for fair funding for arts and culture here in the council district and across the northwest. And we're at a pivotal moment, I think, in terms of like trying to win an argument with the department that they need to address the decades of disparity of funding. So, you know, and I think that in terms of developing the capacity for that, I think more funding, if that is properly acknowledged, could actually make a big difference. But thanks again, Jim, for coming in.
No bar. Thanks, Sean. I suppose to answer your question about the creatives, there's less of them. I don't think there's hundreds of people looking at getting that are currently waiting for work within the creative industries. As I say, COVID affected people then just sought alternative funding or alternative jobs. Like I consider myself an artist personally, but I've had to become an arts administrator to pay the wages or to pay the bills. You know, so there's less and less. The pool's getting smaller and smaller. So I think I hope that answers that. In terms of engagement, community engagement, I suppose, and so on, I've flagged up before, it's easy enough getting groups involved, community groups and different organisations in our civic celebrations. But what I have noticed is the general public, particularly at the likes of Halloween, are becoming less and less engaged in terms of being, you know, practically engaged in terms of dressing up and stuff. They become more consumers of culture rather than creators. Whereas when I was kind of growing up, you stuck out like a sore thumb if you weren't dressed up. And a lot of it was kind of bar oriented, so there was a lot of alcohol and stuff. But as I say, you go to any bar across the town several years ago, nobody would not have been dressed up. So that's something I think we need to look at to ensure, and keeping in mind that the Halloween festival grew out of that grassroots engagement. You know, ordinary folk dressed up and had a ball, and the local authority then seen the opportunity there, and you know, and arts and creative organisations, you know, realised that there was potential there. So we have, you know, directly tapped on it, but we don't want to lose sight of the fact that, as far as I can see, I think people, members would agree, less and less people are dressing up. You know, in terms of the business with the Arts Council and the obvious deficit in terms of, you know, funding, there is the facts stand up. There's less and less investment in the arts west of the Bann. That's a fact. How we redress that is going to. There obviously needs to be more fun, and I think the government, central government, in terms of Stormont, have to intervene or have to get more involved. Yeah, I'm not saying getting rid of the Arts Council at all, because they also, I mean, our main funder is Derry Instrument District Council in terms of the money we receive. The other main funder for us is the Arts Council, but they need to be ponying up a bit more, you know. And I think there is an acceptance, certainly in terms of people involved in the whole co-delivery process, that the imbalance needs to change. You know, there has to be transparency, and you know, there has to be equality across the board. That's just a challenge that faces us all, those involved in the arts. But we've a way to go on it, you know. And the arts always suffers when there's cuts to be done. You know, it's the arts are badly affected. You know, it's like if a community group gets a cut in their funding, they tend to chop off the market and chop off the stuff that, you know, the stuff that, not that they can do without it, but that's always the soft underbelly, and the arts seems to suffer disproportionately. So I hope that answers some of your questions, Sean.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. That's all our indicated speakers, folks, today. And again, just to thank you for coming along, Jim. It was an excellent presentation. And as you know, okay.
How long are you doing this now? Because
Well, I've been involved in kind of community arts all my working life, but I've been involved with the Carnival Initiative since its inception in 2004, 2005.
there's always mind taxing you about as well. Like you're in with Steve, the time's coming up.
Aye. And not that I'm getting tired of it, but it's a slog sometimes, but it's something I love. You know, I mean, it's more than a job, obviously. But maybe time for fresh blood, or certainly engage, have a succession plan.
No problem. Again, thanks, Jim. You're a credit to the arts in Derry, you and your organisation. And thank you very much. And we hope to see you again soon. All right. But this would take 5 minutes comfort break, folks. Okay, folks, welcome back. We're going to move on to chairperson's business. I have one item, and that is Councillor Hart, who is just not here at the moment. Stephen's just going to come on.
Thank you. Councillor Hart just spoke to me before the meeting and, excuse me, members, and I had been informed as well. There's a request to use our car park, which is from the Community Safety Partnership in Strabane. They're doing an event. As members will be aware, we're meant to be asked so many weeks in advance so as we can put up posters, etc. Unfortunately, we haven't been informed in time. However, members can choose to, if they give me authority, they need to rope off 10 car parking spaces in our pay and display car park. Sorry, Councillor Ireland, was just filling members in. And so we've done this before where we've got short notice and we can do this, but as I say, it doesn't give us enough notice technically to put up signs and say that they're going to be blocked off. But because it's only 10 spaces out of the car park and because it's a community safety event and it's been run through the PCSP, so I'm seeking permission to be able to do that. And Councillor Hart, happy to take it.
Councillor Hart, just in your absence there, Stephen was just coming on the back. So we just want to come on now just with the context of what the ask is.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Stephen. Yeah, I was contacted by the organisers of this event, and I know it's short notice, but it was just to ask the officers. They'd come to me looking for 10 car parking spaces to facilitate emergency vehicles. It's Emergency Services Training Day, so it's a major event for the emergency services to coordinate their approach to rescue operations along the River Mourne there. So it's made up of the community rescue teams, fire service, ambulance, police, coast guard and Hart, nothing to do with me. So I would be very appreciative if it could be facilitated. So thank you, Chair, and thanks, Stephen.
So folks, we have a proposal on the floor there. If who's seconding that there? Councillor Hutton. I don't see nobody's objecting to, so that's fine. Hopefully we'll get that sorted. So, all right, no problem. No more items on the chairperson's business, folks. So we're going to move on to item 8. What is the matters arising from the last meeting? What was held at the last date? It's not on the sheet here, but you'll know what it is. Councillor Barr.
Thank you, Chair. It's item BC 6/25. The ongoing issues with Royal Mail. I was just wondering, is there any update on that on the request for a meeting?
We've had no correspondence from the management of Royal Mail, despite chasing them. We have had communication. We had been asked, members at the last meeting had asked us to contact the union, the CWU, and they've come back with some dates. So we're just working around members' diaries, their availability, etc., to get a suitable date, but it'll probably be towards the back end of February, start of March before we get that date finalised. But we've got, I'll say, dates for that, and we're continuing to chase the management of Royal Mail for a similar meeting.
Councillor Minnie.
Just thank you, Chair. Just to say thank you to Stephen's update, but I mean, it is disappointing that, you know, since November, Royal Mail haven't had the temerity to come back to this council, and, you know, there are long-standing issues with the post. We all know it. We know that people aren't getting appointments and letters and things like that there, untimely appointment letters, and for Royal Mail not to even come back to us since November, I think it's disgraceful. But I would ask that we keep the pressure on and try and get them to come to this committee, because there are genuine questions they ask. Thank you, Chair.
No, I agree as well. Hopefully we'll keep the pressure on. We'll get a date soon in the diary, because there's a lot of questions that need answered regarding our mail service at the minute. Councillor Alderman Hussey.
Thank you, Chair, and other member committee for the opportunity. And I completely endorse Councillor Mooney's remarks there with regard to that absolute disgrace. BC 10, can we confirm that additional funds are there to finance with regard to the grants process that is there? And secondly, with regard to BC 17, the Appalachian Trail, it was agreed that councillor representation on any body was being withdrawn, but that it would continue on an officer basis. can I assume on that that officers will report occasionally, as is necessary, on any developments with regard to the International Appellation Trail? Thank you.
Just before we answer that there, I just must, Councillor Harkin, just on the previous item of Royal Mail, if you don't mind. Councillor Hussey, we'll let Sean just come in there.
Thank you, Chair.
Sean?
Yeah, it was on the same issue, and thank you, Stephen, for the update. Look, I think we should just go ahead with a meeting with the Communication Workers Union and get the point of view of the Royal Mail workers on this in terms of what we can do to assist them and what we can do to apply pressure. And look, Royal Mail don't seem to be, they don't want to, as others have said, they don't want to talk to us, because this is not the first time that we've asked. I think this has been going on now in this issue for probably about 6 months. This has been dragging on. So maybe we should try to correspond with the new owners of Royal Mail, and that's EP UK Bidco Limited, because that sale was approved. And this might be some of the issue in terms of their willingness to sit down and talk to us. There may be a letter to the new owners saying that we are seeking a meeting with the management of Royal Mail. Might get a response if the people that we're writing to right now are just not getting back to the council. So, and I don't, if members are okay approving that, that will just be an extra way to put a bit of pressure on them.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. I think at the last meeting we did agree that it would be difficult to get the two in the room at the same time, the union and the employer, especially as us as a third party. That would have been difficult, and maybe this is the reason why we're being. There's been no correspondence quick enough at the moment. Possibly that is the reason. But I would agree with Councillor Harkin's recommendation that we go ahead and sit down with the union on that. But that is a proposal on the floor, folks, so we can have a seconder on that. Councillor Barr has seconded. I don't see nobody objecting to that proposal, so that's fine. We'll get that sorted, Councillor Harkin. Apologies, Councillor Alderman Hussey. Over to you. You already asked your question, so you just need your answer. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. They will be reported back to committee. Yeah, I think the report noted that, but I can assure you that will be the case. Yeah.
Chair, the other one was on the additional funds for grant aid.
So we don't have an update on that yet. I understand the lead finance officer was waiting to get the rates process over and is now looking at year-end outturn. So we are in close communication with them on that, but we do not have an update yet. And I am mindful that there is a confidential paper at this committee that some of that will be relevant to. So, but just to preempt that question, we don't have an update for this committee, no.
Thanks, Chair.
Okay, members, I don't see no more indicated speakers for the minutes. So we're going to move on to our first item on open business. What is the Heart of the Sperrins, and Aidan's going to take that.
Yeah, so thank you, Chair. Members. The purpose of this report is just to update you on a letter of offer received from the Arts Council for the delivery of round 3 of the Arts and Older People project entitled Heart of the Sperrins. So the Arts Council have approved funding of 8,900 for an older people focused project, which is the Heart of the Sperrins round 3. Members, I won't go through it in detail, but you will be aware that this is the third round of this funding, delivering much needed arts and culture provision to primarily focused on older people in our rural areas in Faughan, Sperrins and the Derg. The outcomes of the second round of this funding last year are set out in the report. The outcomes were significant, with 60% of participants reporting a positive impact on their health and well-being through engagement in the arts, and 75% visiting the Tower Museum as a result of it for the first time. Much of it is focused on care homes throughout the district, and the Heart of the Sperrins round 3 will complement the activities outlined in the North West Audience Development Plan and will be designed to address feelings of isolation, loneliness and stress felt by older people. It's expected that round 3 will engage approximately 120 participants in a 12-month programme activity across a range of art forms. Officers will establish a panel of facilitators via an open call to develop a programme, as well as the wider arts development programme. The panel will be utilised as and when required. The Arts Development Programme seeks to enhance creative skills and promote artistic expression through a series of workshops. The total project cost has been identified as 13,920,000 with the Arts Council contribution already outlined, and it's proposed that the remaining £5,029 be met from member-approved arts development and museum services budget. And members, you're asked to note the contents of this report and approve formal acceptance of the Arts Council letter of offer and the allocation of the required match funding from approved budgets. So happy to take any questions, members.
Thank you for that. Our first indicated speaker is Councillor McHugh.
Well, good Chair, and thanks as well for the report. No questions as such, but really just to welcome it. A scheme particularly aimed at our elderly people, and particularly in the rural area where maybe there's not as much access to services, which can obviously have a detrimental impact on our elderly population. And as the report says, this scheme will tackle social isolation and the loneliness that often our older people can suffer from, which then in turn can lead to mental health issues as well. So just to welcome it and to propose the recommendation, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McHugh, proposed by yourself. Our next indicated speaker is Alderman Middleton.
Thank you, Chair, for letting me in, and thank you, Aideen, for the report. On behalf of the DEP, we definitely welcome the report. We think it's really positive. Many of the points Councillor McHugh just made, I completely agree with. I actually hail from a rural area myself, and I recognise that some of our elderly residents suffer greatly because of the rural isolation and the lack of services. So it's really good to see this project come forward. Just one small question, which does not negate from the support, which is with the breadth of this, like the size of the area of the Spare, Nadine, how can we ensure that the participants, the 120 participants, are going to be well spread out and not just, maybe in the bigger areas within the Spare? Because I know certainly from like people that I know living in the Spare, and they're scattered out a wee bit. So just wanted to check on that. But also happy to second. But I would love to know just how we're going to source these participants. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Alderman Middleton, for those comments. I know the purpose of this is to spread this as widely as possible. It is a project that's specifically around focus on the rural areas. It tends to be focused on care homes. So, and there's a little bit of there's a little bit in terms of the facilities that can support the programme, but certainly we try and make it as wide as possible to go right throughout the district. So I'm happy to come back with some further information in terms of the details of groups that would have participated previously and groups that are targeted for this year as well. And certainly, I think if members are aware of any groups that should be included, we'd be happy to look at that. So more than happy to circulate some of that information directly to members.
Thank you, Aideen.
Okay, moving on. Members, item 10, what is the City of Derry Jazz and Big Band Festival 2025 update? And that's Aideen.
So thank you, Chair. Members, the purpose of this report is to update you on plans for the 2025 City of Derry Jazz and Big Band Festival. Members should be well aware of this festival. It takes place over the first Maybank holiday weekend. This year it's the 1st to the 5th of May. You'll know that we do expressions of interest to gauge the interest from venues looking to take part in the event. 48 venues have expressed an interest and over 90 musicians have come through to take part. Members, you're also aware that we were working with the Millennium Forum regards securing a headline act. The key elements of the programme are set out in the report there, so it will include, activities, jazz hubs, schools programme, masterclasses, workshop, jazz al fresco. The Gay McIntyre stage will return to Guildhall Square. The headline has been confirmed by the Millennium Forum, which is music icon Billy Ocean, who's playing 2 nights in the Millennium Forum. There's been huge interest to that, and a second date was added, so I understand there's only a small number of tickets left for that event. I'll come back to the query. I know we had a discussion the last time around Strabane. There's an item in the paragraph, but I'll come back to that just in a second. There's some details there around the marketing campaign that set out other key headlines not included in this report and just announced in the last few days are Una Healy and Luke Thomas, whose tickets went on sale this morning for that event in St. Colum's Hall as part of the Jazz Festival. And we expect other key headliners to be announced over the next couple of weeks. The formal launch of the programme, the Jazz Festival programme, will take place on the 19th of March. There's a note in there, the same weekend is also the 80th anniversary of the Battle Atlantic, and Council's Museum Service are preparing a 2-day programme for the 3rd and 4th of May. Which to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the Battle Atlantic, but more specifically the official surrender of the German U-boat fleet at Lissahalli. The primary of this activity is going to take place at Ebrington in the area opposite the buildings where the new DNA museum will be located. It'll allow museum staff to engage as well with visitors on the plans for the new museum. The draft programme there is set out in the report. It'll include a full replica of a World War II Spitfire and display from some of the museum services World War II related collections. And the Tour Museum will also deliver a series of World War II workshops for schools to raise the awareness of the significance of the city and region during the Second World War. So members, the overall budget for the City of Derry Jazz and Big Fan Festival is 120,000, which you will be aware is previously agreed. I know at the previous committee members, you'd asked officers to explore the possibility of extending the Jazz Festival into the Strabane area. So we did do some proactive work with venues in Strabane, and in December an expression of interest form was issued to Strabane venues through the bid company and then through the local Vintners Association. Now I should point out that there was some issues with the local Vintners Association in that some of the information was not forwarded. The officers did become aware of this over the last number of weeks, and we did chase responses from as many of the licensed premises and venues that we could. There was a renewed effort by bids, and various officers would have reached out directly to a lot of the venues. So I suppose formally we've only had 2 responses to say they were interested in participating in the Jazz Festival. One venue expressed an interest in hosting solo performers only, and the other was willing to host acts of up to a trio group size, but both venues were only in participating in 2 to 3 days of what is a 5-day festival. So I suppose that is a relatively low interest, and it is clear that it would require significant resource to develop, to I suppose engage with venues and develop a festival of scale in Strabane. And while in theory those venues could participate in the City of Derry Jazz Festival, officers, having had some discussions with some of the vintners and via the bid group and a number of other interested parties, they have suggested that it might be more there is a lot of resources required to develop an event. Indeed, the City of Derry Jazz Festival has 20 years of development to get to the stage it's at. So what officers are suggesting is that efforts to develop a music trail are aligned with summer jams, so that an after dark music trail showcasing the best of talent that would be developed specifically and unique to Strabane be developed. This could be done in a much more cost-effective way at a more suitable time of year, and would greatly enhance the summer jam event, which is primarily during the day, to bring much more sustainable benefits to the town. So happy to have a discussion on that and take any questions. Members, overall you're asked to note the content of the report and to approve the development, I suppose, of a music trail, in principle the development of a music trail for the Summer Jam programme.
Okay, thank you, Aileen. Our first indicated speaker is Councillor Barr.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Aileen, for the report. As you've alluded to there, Aileen, there were some issues with the expression of interest process, but however, having discussed the proposal with established venues in the town, it's felt that if we get sufficient commitment from council and from bids, then this is an event which could be developed and grown and run alongside with bids and would be unique to town. the nighttime economy in Strabane on its knees, and any additional events are to be welcome. And I think this could have a positive outcome. So I'm happy to propose the paper, acceptance of the paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barr. Alderman Middleton.
Thank you, Chair, for letting me in. Also, thank you, Aideen and team, not only for the report, but the tremendous amount of work you've done just in all aspects of the planning. I will definitely wish to, or would definitely wish to second this today. It's also very encouraging on behalf of myself and the DUP that we're able to enthusiastically welcome the celebrations that are and commemorations that have been thoughtfully incorporated to do with the 80th anniversary of the Battle of the Atlantic and the surrender of the U-boats at Lissahallie. These are moments of great historical significance. This will be most welcome from so many, not only locally and district-wide, but also from much further afield. There's really fantastic plans. I'm sorry, she's wiggling a lot here. There's really fantastic plans in place. And just a huge thank you. We're really excited for the Jazz Festival, and it's great to see the VE Day celebrations incorporated also. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Middleton. Councillor Hart.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Aideen, for that update. And I'm happy to second those proposals in relation to the Summer Jam. Over the last few months, I've been working with council officers to enhance the Summer Jam, and having a discussion around what we can do, to bring a bit of more vibrancy. And Councillor Barr talked about the nightlife being on its knees. So if there's something that we could do to bring some music acts into the local establishments. Councillor Barr owns one himself, so I'm sure he'll be delighted to avail of that. So one of the other proposals that I've been in discussion with council officers is a street art festival. We have seen the recent over the last while the street art in Derry, the Amelia Earhart. So I've already had a meeting with a street artist from Belfast. I'm having further meetings with council officers with him as well to flesh out how we can bring that to Strabane and be part of the Summer Jam. So I don't know if Aideen can you mention anything or your thoughts around those two areas? Thank you.
Yeah, no, I know we're happy to look at how we can incorporate street art into Summer Jam as well. I think it's it's a real opportunity to grow that event, to celebrate all that's good about Strabane and unique to Strabane. And certainly we are happy. I know as an officer team we're meeting to discuss how we can develop that, and certainly looking at street art is one of the options for that. There are a number of very successful street art groups that have, as you alluded to, done excellent street art here in the city, and I think it's probably an opportunity to look at how some of that learning can be developed and utilised in Strabane as well. So we're looking to hopefully be part of that and to have a number of discussions over the next number of weeks, aligning obviously with the development of Music Trail as well for the After Dark Summer Jam activity. So obviously, considerations need to be given to how practically those things will happen, and budget required and everything else, but we would look to be scoping those things out and bringing further reports back to this committee.
Thank you, Aideen. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Next indicated speaker, Councillor Harkin.
Aideen, for the report about the Jazz Festival, and I'm sure we're going to have an excellent Jazz Festival in the coming year, and I look forward to it and participating in it. And the Workers' Rights and Social Justice Week is another very important event that overlaps with the Jazz Festival, and I just wanted to mention that because that begins on April 26th and runs right through to May 3rd. And the theme this year is workers' unity, past, present, and future. And I think that that's very important, given that there are forces eager to divide communities, given that there are, politicians that are ramping up militarism. all around the world, and where we're watching the continued unfolding of a genocide. So the themes this year about workers' unity are going to be crucial. And just so members know, look, we've had the Workers' Rights and Social Justice Week here, and the ICTU, which is the All Ireland Trade Union body, has now endorsed that, and they've launched Trade Union Week. So trade unions, trades councils all across Ireland, every city, every town will be encouraged to do trade union weeks, similar to the ones that the Derry Trades Union Council has been organising here for a number of years now. So this is actually something that's growing, and our council, the role of our council is to assist and work with the Derry Trades Council in making this a success. And one thing it's important for members to note is that the annual march organised by the Derry Trades Union Council happens on May 3rd. And that there is an issue here about access for the Trades Council for the rally in the Guildhall Square, where it's been traditionally held. So I know that members of the Trades Council, the chair, has been trying to correspond and interact with council officers around getting some clarification and working through some of the proposals and initiatives for the Workers' Rights and Social Justice Week. So can I ask council officers to as quick as possible, please, get in touch with the Trades Council officers, because they're a bit frustrated, to be quite honest, because of the lack of engagement. So I think that this is something we need to get sorted out very, very quickly, because there's quite a few plans that are already moving forward. And I think that the council should be very, very proud of the Workers' Rights and Social Justice Week, and do everything it can to uplift that and to uplift this year's theme around workers' unity. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. Alderman Hussey.
Thanks for the opportunity, Chair. And thanks for the report, Aidan. I suppose my first comment would be Billy Ocean, jazz. I would have thought more rhythm and blues, but I'll leave that for other people's judgment. With regard to Strabane, I've listened to Councillor Barr and indeed Councillor Hart. I would have had a slightly different view in that you talked about development. Well, development has got to start somewhere. So if there were two venues willing, they should have been allowed, in my opinion, to have gone ahead with a couple of days as a start. But local opinion is different in Strabane town, and so be it. Can I welcome the recognition of the 80th anniversary of the U-boat surrender and the conclusion of the longest battle of the Second World War, the Battle of the Atlantic? Our own grouping have met with the Royal Naval Association, and I'm assuming that there has been or will be engagement with the Royal Naval Association in regard to events that council are planning. And of course, within that, if we move on a few days, we move on to Victory in Europe Day on the 8th of May. So I don't know if there's any plans that the whole scenario can link up. And indeed, we cannot forget the American involvement through all of this. And I'm mindful, getting back to the music theme, particularly of the Glenn Miller type music, and wondering if artists like the Limavady Big Band have been thought about to bring that sort of Glenn Miller genre into the equation with regard to its relevance, both to the jazz and indeed to the period of time that is being commemorated going forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Alderman Hussey. Okay. Moving on, folks. Our next item is item 11. It's the St. Patrick's Day update.
Chair, just quickly, can I come back in there? It's Councillor Harkin.
Go ahead.
Yeah, look, I want to just make sure that councillor officers, because I'm not in the chamber, obviously, are acknowledging what I asked there in terms of getting back in touch with the Derry Trades Council. because I think that's important, and it's actually a responsibility of council to do that. This is corporate policy. So, and the second thing I want to get
Councillor
on
Harkin,
yeah.
that was already agreed
Right.
on, so you must have missed out.
It's no problem. Thank you for that, Chair. The second thing is, look, I want to get on record. I mean, we had a discussion. I can't remember in what committee. It was about just about the 80th anniversary. I think it was the 80th anniversary of the Atlantic, and about the Lisahally U-boats. And I want to say, look, I'm not going to be in favour of any events that glorify and celebrate militarism. And I'm a bit worried about the enthusiasm that some members of the chamber are showing today for the 80th anniversary of the Battle of Atlantic, because the DUP in particular has been an outright supporter of genocide that's been conducted by Israel and the United States. And for me, there is a clear link in the chain between the First World War, the Second World War, the Cold War, and what the United States and Israel are doing today in Gaza. And I think that what the United States are talking, what the White House is talking about doing right now, in terms of moving more than 2 million people out of Gaza, and basically taking driving them out of their homes and their lands, will be much worse than what we've already seen. So yes, the Americans did participate in the Second World War, as we know, but there should be no events that celebrate militarism, that glorify militarism, especially in this context right now. And I think it would be in a week celebrating workers' rights and social justice week, to have events in the city that are glorifying militarism at a time when the British state's involved in a genocidal war in Gaza would be a very serious issue. And I think that the council needs to take this on board in a very serious way. So I'm not quite sure what to make of the adding in of that, because it's not part of the Jazz Festival. It's another event that is there. But it's not clear to me what those events are going to look like. But I am concerned about who is most enthusiastic about it and how they're viewing what these events will look like. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, so just to give a bit of clarity on the issue that I think Councillor Harkin is referring to on the 4th of May. So Workers' Rights and Social Justice Week was a proposal to Council a number of years ago. The Museum Service have led on it every year, and primarily to showcase our workers' rights and social justice collections. We invite any other groups throughout the city and district who want to be part of that programme to do so, and we promote it. There's a particular issue on the 4th of May because the Derry Trade Union Council, the Saturday of Jazz Festival has clashed with the Derry Trade Union Council event. In previous years, there's been an accommodation because we have obviously a stage set up in Guildhall Square, and I think there's been an accommodation that both events would happen in parallel, with the Trade Union Council in recent years utilising Waterloo Place. Now, I know the request has come in, and officers are working to try and basically to try and allow both events to be programmed. So those discussions are ongoing, and officers are committed to find a solution with the Derry Trade Union Council so that all aspects of the Jazz Festival and the Trade Union Council event can be accommodated within Guildhall Square. We have a particular issue, I know, just with accommodating a number of school groups who traditionally perform on stage on the morning of the Jazz Festival. Now, we're in discussions and we're working through that, and everybody, as far as I understand, everybody's committed to finding a solution. Just to give a wee bit of clarity on each of the events, that is primarily part of the Jazz Fest and Workers' Rights and Social Justice Week, is again as a museum service led event, and there will be programmes as part of that. I know we have a full programme for the paper coming, I think, next month on the annual programme for the museum services. That'll be included, but yeah, it does happen as an annual event. But I'm confident, and I think everybody's confident, that we'll be able to come to some sort of pragmatic solution there that'll allow everybody to proceed. So just to note that, but yeah, we noted Councillor Harkin's comments.
Brief comment. I find it ironic that Councillor Harkin cannot accept an event which commemorates the end of a conflict.
Okay, folks, we're going to move on from this. Our next item is item 11, and it's the St. Patrick's Day update, and it's Edie.
So, thank you, Chair, members. I dread to hasten to say this should be a fairly straightforward St. Patrick's Day report, but this is to highlight just plans for the development of the 2025 St. Patrick's Day Parade and Spring Carnival across the city and Strabane. You will be well aware of the success of previous events. The themes for this year's celebration will incorporate elements of the forest, the sky and the sea, and parade participants will be encouraged to incorporate this theme into the floats, costumes and performances. In the city, it's proposed the Spring Carnival will take place in the afternoon of the 17th of March at 3 o'clock, aims to feature over 500 participants throughout the city. You'll be well aware from earlier in this committee, this meeting, that the Carnival will be delivered through a service level agreement with the North West Carnival Initiative. The parade route will be similar to the last couple of years, which will leave Bishop Street through the Diamond, down Shipquay Street, Whitaker Street, onto the dual carriageway, through Harbour Square roundabout onto Strand Road, and down to the parade finish at the Strand Road car park, which is Council Car Park on Strand Road. There will also be a large stage set up in Guildhall Square, offering a mix of traditional music and dance. There are plans for legendary food and craft markets alongside this. There'll be additional street animation, music and performance. And you should note, members, that Music Capital will also run an Afro-Celt sound system event in the Guildhall on Sunday the 16th of March, which is a fusion of African, Gaelic and Bhangra influenced sounds, bringing spirits and music from different cultures to a breathtaking show. This will be included in the wider programme. The plan for Strabane, as you'll be well aware, the Strabane St. Patrick's Day Parade is a key community event. The theme for this year will be celebrating heritage, and participants again will be encouraged to incorporate this theme into their floats, costumes and performances. Officers will be working with creative organisations and community groups to grow the parade. There'll be a delivery of an 8-week carnival skills development and carnival arts creation programme. And an open call has obviously been out for participation in the parade. The details are in the report. There'll be also live music performances and children's activity in the Alley Theatre from 1:30 that day to 4:30. The parade will follow the traditional route from Strabane Town Centre, starting in Holy Cross College at 2 o'clock, proceeding down the Melmount Road and ending in Dock Street behind the Alley Theatre. A rolling road closure will be implemented during the route to ensure participants and spectators' safety. And officers will be working with other council departments, bid groups, arts and culture organisations and venues, local businesses to develop the wider programme. The overall budget, members, is set out in the report. Members, you're really asked to note the content of the report and approve the programming and financial arrangements set out in the report. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Alderman Hussey.
Just a very brief query. Reference the public call for registration for Strabane. Deadline's 3rd of March. Who does one respond to in that? Is it council or is there a local area? Because, if there were a cultural organisation or organisations who wish to do so, who would they apply to?
Mostly it's council, yeah. So mostly proactively we reach out to groups who've participated before, but obviously if there's a group you think we've missed, but yeah, it's council take the registrations.
Council, yeah. And council would be the organiser on the 11/1 for that then, is that correct? Thank you.
Councillor Hart.
Thanks, Eugene, for the report, and it's very encouraging to see, the the participation in St Patrick's Day Parade in Strabane last year. I carried the banner for the Gael School and the School of Doherty in Strabane, which we're very proud to do. And it was great to see the community participation in the parade. And I suppose that is the key, that it's something that we need to encourage and nurture those community organisations to get involved and let the parade grow year on year. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Hart. Councillor Mooney.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to Aideen you can obviously see the work that's been done in this report and in the preceding report as well. Obviously, we had a flavour there just at the start of the meeting there from Jim Collins, who outlined what kind of work was into the organisation for the parade and for all the participants in the parade from all around the community. And it is heartwarming to see that a lot of people participate and are still participating in this important parade. And I'm quite happy they recommend, they actually propose the paper here before us. So thank you, Chair.
Okay, can we have a seconder for that, folks? Seconded by Councillor Hart. Thank you. That's that item. Moving on to item 12, the Canal Basin Antisocial Behaviour, and that's Stephen.
Thank you, Chair. And members, just to update you on issues that were raised before and previously in this chamber and recently at a full council meeting. So members will be aware there was ongoing antisocial behaviour in the Canal Basin, unfortunately dating back 2017. At that time, we installed a barrier system, and the barriers were closed from 6:30 at night until 8:30 the next morning. Then in 2022, we were approached through the Strabane bid, where a number of businesses felt that it was an opportunity maybe to open the car park again and allow customers to park there without restriction. We did that, and things seemed to settle down. However, before Christmas, we started to receive reports of increased antisocial behaviour and complaints from residents who live around the car park. So at that stage, in discussion with some of the local councillors, we took a decision to close the car park temporarily, back to the kind of closing the gates, but this time slightly later, sort of 8:30 at night instead of the previous 6:30, and then open again in the morning at 8:30. This has been welcomed by local residents, although a number of businesses, one in particular, would be quite critical of the closure. However, it was felt we had no choice but to do something to mitigate the antisocial behaviour. The purpose of the report now is to look at, we always said at that stage in discussions, we said we would bring it formally into the chamber, which is what we're doing now, to seek members' opinion as to what options or what we can do going forward. Obviously, there's an option of do nothing, which I don't think is really an option because it's not going to address the issues. Second option is to continue with the car park closure from 8:30 at night until 7:30 in the morning, and the cost there for doing that is approximately £11,777 per annum. And third option is possibly to install CCTV and speed ramps, which would restrict the behaviour and monitor the behaviour. There's a capital outlay of approximately £10,000 for that, and then an ongoing monitoring cost of £2.5. Provision for this can be made within the car park's budget, because we previously did it and we were making those annual savings. So it's for members to consider the options and what recommendation you wish for officers to take forward. Either option one, to leave the car park open and to do nothing. Option two is to close the car parks as per the time that we're doing at the minute. Or option three is to look at CCTV and speed ramps or restrictions with an ongoing monitoring of them. So happy to take comments.
Thank you for that, Stephen. And our first speaker, Councillor Hart.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Stephen. I won't say I'm happy to propose, but I'll propose it. It's not an ideal solution, to shut any car park, but as part of the Sinn Féin team in Strabane, we've had multiple meetings with the PSNI in relation to this particular issue, and their response is it will be down their priority list when they have things like domestic violence, violence against women, road traffic incidents. they can't be there all the time to police this particular issue. So the only other viable option, which I think was unanimous when an email went out from council officers before Christmas to the councillors in the Strabane town area, was to temporarily close the car park on a restricted basis. Going forward, I think the option 2 is probably the preferable option. Nobody wants to spend money, but it's become such a nuisance to local residents in the area, some with special needs children. As somebody that lives in the town, I can hear these boy racers myself going round and round. So it would be option 2 that I would be inclined to go for. We can review it maybe in a year's time and see if maybe the CCTV would be a better option. I don't know if the CCTV records sound or just video. So option 2 would be my preference. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Hart. Next speaker, Councillor Barr.
Thank you, Chair. As Councillor Hart says, they've had discussions with PSNA over the last few months. I also have had discussions with them, and despite their best efforts, whatever they've been doing has been totally ineffective. I'm talking to the mother of the severely disabled youngster that's mostly affected by this. By talking to other residents, they're telling me that the antisocial behaviour has decreased by 99%. Since the car park was closed. In terms of the objection from the one retailer down there, it would appear to me that the later closing time of 8:30 suits most of the retailers down there. And I've also been told that one of the basis of objections was that staff training was being affected. And I've been told by one of the parents that Andy Byers gave her an assurance that allowances could be made for that, and that there was going to be staff training on this individual's premises. So I think when it comes to cost versus the well-being of a severely disabled youngsters, there's only one winner, and I agree with Councillor Hart. I think option 2 is the only option. I'm prepared to propose that. If Barney hasn't proposed it, or I'll second it.
That was proposed by Councillor Hart, seconded by Councillor Barr, so that, and I don't see no objections by any other member on that, so I think that's fine. We're going to go with option 2 on that. No more speakers on this item, folks. We're going to move on, and it's item 13, and it's the update on the future planning for Go Succeed and entrepreneurship support services, market and delivery, and that is 18.
So thank you, Chair. So members, this report relates specifically to the marketing element of the Go Succeed programme. You'll be aware that this council lead on the marketing on behalf of the Go Succeed for the Northern Ireland-wide enterprise support service for all of the 11 councils. The November 23 marked a pivotal moment for the programme with the regional launch of the Northern Ireland Enterprise Support Service named Go Succeed as part of an initial 2-year service. It's funded by a significant 17 million investment from the UK government through the Levelling Up Fund, and it's set to make a lasting impact on local entrepreneurs and businesses. This Council's marketing team has delivered a comprehensive marketing communications plan on behalf of the 11 councils over a 13-month period, concluding on the 31st of December 2024. Members, the results of that are set out in the report, and the brand tracking is set out in the appendix to the report. Funding was originally awarded for 2 years with a view to continuing the services for 4. But the UK Shared Prosperity Fund have recently confirmed an extension of an initial 1-year transition period. And the level of funding for this year has not yet been confirmed, and it's only for level of continuation of funding is only likely to be confirmed towards the end of February. The Project Management Office, through letter to Belfast City Council, have submitted an overarching project proposal to the fund for the next financial year, and the total funding request for Go Succeed programme is £10 million, excluding match, including a marketing budget of £1,063,500 to sustain the delivery at the current level. The council officers from our marketing team prepared the proposal. So it was agreed previously that this council, or as lead marketing council on marketing, procure the contract holder for the advertising communication services contract over the 2-year period, plus any extended period up to a maximum of 4 years. So the value of the contract for the initial 2-year period was £2,350,000. This was awarded in line with our procurement policies and procedures. It's now, as it's to extended members, the purpose of this report is primarily to get you to approve the extension of this in line with approved extended funding. And you should note, members, that there will be a further report to this committee in due course on the wider project delivery and specifics relating to this delivery of the programme in this council area. So members, you're asked to note the contents of the report and to approve the extension of the marketing services contract. And this is primarily so that the contract can be ready, so there's no, so there can be a continuation of service, and once the confirmation of the extension of the programme is received, there will be no break in service with the contract. So as I say, there will be further reports coming, I think possibly next month, on that wider programme for you. So thank you, members. Happy to take any questions.
Don't have any indicated speakers, but that does need approval for the extension. Councillor Needis.
Thanks for the report, Aileen, and I'm happy to propose that we accept the recommendations.
Thank you very much. Can we have a seconder for the extension, or is there any objections? Seconded by Alderman Guy, and there's nobody objecting to that, so that's that. Moving on, folks, our next items 14 to 17 is open for information. I'm going to take them as a block. If there's anybody who wants to speak on any items, make it be known now or forever hold your peace. Nobody? Happy days. Moving on, our confidential, we'll just get confirmation from our technical expert for proposer. We're going to go on to confidential. Councillor Hart, Councillor Barr.